You've tried everything, haven't you? You've fought battles no one else could see. You've carried burdens no one else ever noticed. You've shed tears that no one was there to wipe away. And maybe right now you're weary. You've done all that was within your reach. Yet it still feels like life hasn't shifted the way you hoped it would. But here's the truth. You have to hold on a little longer. You don't need to solve every mystery. You don't need to repair every shattered piece. You don't need to climb every hill alone. Sometimes your only assignment is to breathe and let God handle the rest. When you've done everything you can, when your energy fades and your plans unravel, that is where God begins. God never asked for perfection. He asked for surrender. He never required control. He desired trust. You see, often we're too busy trying to be our own rescuer, attempting to direct every detail, forcing life to move how we think it should. But God is saying, be still. Let me take care of what you can't. Because the truth is, the moment you stop pushing in your own strength and start resting in His, that's when miracles start unfolding. There are seasons in life where you must simply step back and say, God, I've done what I can. Now, I will give it to you. That act of surrender isn't weakness, it's power. Because when you release control, you create space for God to move. When you stop striving, God starts shaping. When you stop control, God starts creating. He moves most powerfully in the stillness where your effort ends and His will begins. You see, faith isn't about doing more. It's about believing deeper. Faith says, even when I can't see it, I trust that God is working. It's the confidence that while you're waiting, God is weaving. It's the awareness that when life seems paused, God is preparing. And when everything feels uncertain, He remains sovereign. That's the beauty of letting God take over. He doesn't need you to perform. He needs you to believe there's a divine reason for the waiting. There's a reason your plans didn't unfold the way you imagined. God often uses frustration to build dependence. He allows disappointment to deepen your faith. Because when you reach the end of yourself, you finally reach the beginning of Him. That's when your story begins to shift. That's when you understand that God doesn't want your exhaustion. He wants your trust. Some of you are standing in the middle of uncertainty right now. You don't know which way to turn or what tomorrow will bring. But listen carefully. Your job is not to have all the answers. Your job is to stay faithful right where you are and let God reveal what's next. You might not understand what He's doing, but trust that He's doing something. The silence of God is not His absence. The delay of God is not His denial. It's often the ground of preparation for the blessing that's on its way. Think of a seed buried deep in the soil. It seems like nothing is happening. It's dark, it's quiet, it's hidden. But beneath that ground, something is breaking open. Something is growing, something is being made ready for the light. That's your life at this very moment. You might feel buried, but you're really being planted. You might feel overlooked, but you're being prepared. You might feel trapped, but you're being transformed. Let God move beneath the surface where human eyes can't reach. Stop hurrying what God is nurturing. Stop trying to manage what God is molding. Life was never meant to be a constant struggle to prove your value. You are already seen. You are already loved. You are already protected. God knows exactly what He's doing, even when you can't make sense of it. Sometimes the strongest faith isn't found in running. It's in resting. It's whispering, I'll stay right here, God, and let you finish what you began. Because here's the truth. God doesn't bless the anxious heart. He blesses the surrendered one. He doesn't move through noise. He moves through stillness. And when you finally stop wrestling against his timing, you begin to walk in his favor. There's release in letting go. There's peace in trusting. There's power in silence, and there's triumph in surrender. God never intended for you to carry the weight of the world. That burden was never yours. You were created to breathe, to believe, to exist in faith, and to let God handle the rest. When you live that way, you start to see how beautifully He operates in the unseen. Blessings that once felt impossible begin to manifest. Doors that were sealed start to open. The peace that left your heart starts to return. And maybe, just maybe, that's what God's been waiting for all along. Not your effort, but your surrender. He's been waiting for you to step aside so He can step in. Waiting for you to stop fixing what only He can restore. You've been trying to build a future on your own strength. But God is saying, rest. I'll complete what I started. Once you truly grasp that, everything shifts. You stop worrying about what you can't control. You stop fearing what you don't understand. You begin to live with quiet assurance, knowing God is the author of your story. You start realizing that every closed door, every delay, every detour wasn't rejection. It was redirection. God doesn't waste moments, and He doesn't waste pain. Everything you faced has been a chapter in a divine plan, still unfolding. Maybe you've lost something that once meant the world. Maybe your plans fell apart. Maybe you're staring at an empty space where your dream used to live. But don't confuse emptiness with the end. God often clears your hands so He can fill them with something greater. When you cling too tightly to what's fading, you block what's coming. Letting go isn't defeat. It's trust that what's next is far better than what's gone. Sometimes real strength isn't found in fighting longer, but in surrendering sooner. The moment you whisper, God, I can't, but I know you can, you invite heaven's power into your situation. You allow divine order to enter human chaos. You make room for God to move in ways you never could. There's a peace that arrives when you finally stop running. There's a calm that fills your heart when you say, God, I give this to you. And when you live in that posture of surrender, you start to see life through a new lens. You stop chasing blessings because they begin to chase you. You stop pleading for direction because God starts guiding every step you take. You stop living in anxiety because peace becomes your default. It's not about doing less. It's about trusting deeper. It's not about quitting. It's about releasing. When you choose to live by faith, you come into alignment with God's rhythm instead of your own. You begin to move at His divine pace, not your hurried one. And His timing is flawless. He's never too soon, never too late. He moves precisely when you need Him most. You've tried to unlock doors God intentionally closed. You've tried to hold on to people who were meant to walk away. You've tried to force success through your own effort. But God doesn't move through striving. He moves through surrender. When you finally whisper, God, I'm done forcing it, that's when peace replaces pressure. That's when blessings begin to flow in ways beyond logic. It's not your responsibility to figure out how everything will unfold. Your role is simply to trust that it will. God's plans are never random. They're intentional, precise, and full of love. Every silent season carries purpose. Every prayer that seems unanswered holds wisdom. Every delay conceals divine preparation. God is never inactive. He's always at work. Even when you can't perceive it, that's the reason you can rest today. You can exhale again. You can stop striving to fix what's already secure in His hands. You can release what drains you and allow God to fill you. You can believe that the one who hung the stars has already authored your story. You can live freely knowing that being when rooted in faith is enough. Don't let fear convince you that you're failing. Don't let impatience steal your peace. You are right where you're meant to be. And as you stand in this moment, God is aligning everything in your favor. You might not see it yet, but soon you'll look back and realize that what felt like waiting was actually working. So keep showing up, keep breathing, keep walking by faith. You don't need to control the outcome. Just trust the process. Let your heart rest in the truth that God's hands are stronger than your worry, His wisdom deeper than your logic, and His timing better than your plans. Even when you feel unseen, God sees you. Even when you feel forgotten, He remembers you. Even when you feel powerless, He is still fighting for you. Don't measure your worth by what you do. Measure it by who holds you. You belong to the one who never sleeps, never fails, and never leaves. So stop overanalyzing, stop doubting, stop resisting what's already ordained. Rest in the truth that the universe itself bends to God's command and your life flows within that divine order. The waves may roar, but they still obey His voice. The storms may rage, but they quiet when He speaks. And that same power guiding the seas is directing your path right now. One day you'll look back on this season and thank God you didn't give up. You'll see that while you were still, He was working. While you were waiting, He was aligning. While you were silent, He was speaking for you. Everything that looked delayed was actually designed to grow you. You were never called to live in constant striving. You were created to live in sacred surrender. You were created to live in surrender, because the one who truly yields is never defeated. When you trust God enough to release your grip, you align yourself with something far greater than human strength. You align yourself with divine intention. That's where real peace resides. That's where freedom begins to bloom. So live. Just live. Wake up each morning breathing in gratitude. Walk through your day knowing you don't have to have every answer. When trouble appears, whisper to your soul, God's got this. When fear tries to invade, remind yourself, I'm not alone. When plans collapse, say, maybe God is building something better, because He always is. There will be moments when life corners you, and all you can do is breathe. You've prayed, you've battled, you've wept, and still nothing seems to change. In those moments, God isn't punishing you. He's positioning you. The stillness around you isn't emptiness. It's holy ground. It's the sacred space where God teaches you to let go of what was and trust what He's forming within you. You see, God doesn't just want you to endure life. He wants you to trust Him enough to let Him live through you. That's the very heart of faith. To rise each day and say, God, I may not understand, but I trust you completely. When you learn to loosen your control, something miraculous begins to unfold. Fear starts losing its power. Anxiety begins to fade. The storms that once terrified you can no longer disturb your peace. Why? Because you've stopped living by reaction and started living by faith. Faith that believes God sees what you can't. Faith that declares, even if the path is uncertain, I will walk it because God goes before me. That kind of faith doesn't collapse when the winds howl. It stands firm because it's anchored in the eternal. There's a reason God calls us to trust Him with all our hearts and not lean on our limited understanding. Our vision sees only the surface, but God sees the foundation. We see the pain, but He sees the purpose. You might think your delay is a detour, but to God it's preparation. You might think your disappointment means defeat, but to Him it's development. You might think you're stuck, but He says you're being shaped. The truth is, God often takes away your strength so He can reveal His own. He allows doors to close to show you your destiny. Doesn't depend on people. He lets certain things fail so he can hand you what was truly designed for you. You are not forgotten. You are being refined. You are not being punished. You are being purified. Sometimes God slows your steps, not to hold you back, but to shield you from what's ahead. Stop fighting the current of his plan. Stop resisting the quiet seasons where progress seems invisible. It's in those silent stretches that God plants deep wisdom within your spirit. You may not hear his voice, but he's speaking. You may not feel his presence, but he's shaping something in you that can only grow in the dark. Trust that. Welcome. Don't rush it. Because the moment you release control is the moment peace begins to flow through your heart like a river. When you say, God, I'll stay right here and let you take care of the rest, you're not giving up. You're giving into divine power. You're declaring, I don't need to know what's next because I trust the one who holds it. That kind of surrender doesn't weaken you. It makes you unshakable. It transforms you from a fighter into a vessel of stillness, anchored in faith that cannot be moved. Too often, we believe we must always be in motion to see progress. We think that if we're not constantly striving, pushing, or achieving, we're somehow falling behind. But the truth is, rest is not wasted. It's worship. Stillness is not giving in to defeat. It's yielding to divine timing. When you rest in God's pace, you step out of fear and into flow. You stop demanding to know when it will happen and start trusting that it already is. Because even when the plan isn't visible, the planner is still working. Think of the stars that glow in silence. Think of the ocean that moves in rhythm without resistance. Think of the sunrise that arrives each morning without noise or permission. That's how God moves quietly, consistently, perfectly. You don't need to see his hand to know he's at work. Faith doesn't require evidence. It relies on promise. And the promise is this: when you trust him fully, he will lead your steps. There is a peace this world can't imitate. It doesn't come from control, but from confidence that God already has it handled. When you live in that truth, you stop grasping for outcomes and begin flowing with divine order. You start realizing that life isn't about how fast you run, but how deeply you trust. It's not about what you can fix, but what you can release. The strongest souls aren't those who fight endlessly. They are those who rest faithfully. And that's what it truly means to just exist. It's not passivity. It's awareness. Awareness that your worth isn't found in your work, but in your being. Awareness that your value isn't tied to your achievements, but to your alignment with God. Awareness that when you slow down and breathe, you create space for God to reveal blessings he's been shaping behind the curtain. So many hearts are weary because they resist what God is trying to shift. They cling to people who were meant to go. They chase after plans that no longer carry his breath. They hold on to dreams that have expired. And still God whispers with love, "Let it go. Let me take care of this." Yet we fight on, mistaking surrender for loss. But the truth is, surrender is liberation. The moment you release what's not meant for you, God starts releasing what is. You may feel like your life is standing still right now, but stillness isn't stagnation. It's divine setup. God is aligning opportunities, hearts, and timing in ways unseen. While you're waiting, he's weaving. While you're resting, he's rebuilding. While you're existing in faith, he's enlarging your capacity to receive. Every pause holds purpose. Every delay carries direction. Every silent season is a sacred classroom where God teaches you how to trust without seeing proof. It's easy to believe when everything feels right, but true faith is born in the wilderness. Real faith matures in uncertainty. Real faith stands firm when nothing adds up and still declares, God, I won't let fear steal my peace. Because faith isn't about what you can see. It's about who you trust. It's the belief that even when the night stretches long, morning will still come. Even when the valley feels endless, there's a mountaintop waiting. You might be walking through a storm right now, but don't confuse it with abandonment. Sometimes God quiets the storm, but other times He lets the storm quiet you. He allows the shaking so that everything not rooted in Him can fall away. And when it does, you'll see that what remains, your faith, your peace, your surrender is unshakable. That's the kind of soul that can live in faith and let God take the lead. Do you know why God calls you to rest in Him? Because He knows your mind can't solve what only His power can heal. You can plan, you can prepare, you can give your best, but there's a point where your strength stops and His begins, and that's where miracles unfold. God steps in when human effort runs out. He brings calm to impossibility. He brings clarity to confusion and beauty to brokenness. But that happens only when you step back and let Him move. The human heart craves control, yet control is an illusion. You never truly had control. You only had choices. And the most powerful choice you'll ever make is to trust that God's choices are greater than yours because He sees the entire picture. You see a moment, He sees eternity. You see loss, He sees transformation. You see delay, He sees divine timing. If you could glimpse what God sees, you'd stop worrying and start resting. You'd stop prying open doors that are closed for your protection. You'd stop asking why and start whispering thank you. You'd stop panicking over the unknown and start trusting the one who already knows. You'd finally realize your life isn't falling apart. It's falling into divine alignment. When you simply exist, you allow God to expand your awareness of what truly matters. You begin to notice the beauty and simplicity, the serenity and stillness, the strength and surrender. You stop living for applause and start living for purpose. You stop chasing recognition and start chasing truth, because the closer you draw to God, the less you crave validation from anyone else. There's liberation in realizing you were never designed to carry the universe. You were made to carry faith. God's plan is not fragile. It doesn't depend on your perfection. It depends on your trust. So even when you fail, even when you stumble, even when you fall short, don't shrink back in shame. God can work with brokenness. He can rebuild from ashes. The only thing He can't work with is resistance. So stop resisting. Stop doubting the very hand that shaped you. Stop questioning the process just because it's taking time. God's timing isn't delayed. It's deliberate. It's layered. It's preparing your heart for the magnitude of what's coming. You're not waiting for God to move. He's waiting for you to trust. God is waiting for you to let go. Because the moment you do, the floodgates of grace begin to open. Your peace will no longer hinge on results. Your joy will no longer be tied to circumstances. Your confidence will no longer rest on control. You'll stand still and know that God is enough. You'll understand that sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply to exist. and allow him to finish what you cannot. Every soul reaches a moment when the world's noise becomes unbearable. You try to please everyone, fix everything, prove your worth, and yet inside a still voice whispers, "Stop." That voice isn't weakness. It's God calling you back to peace. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop striving to be everything and simply be his creation. Just exist. Let him complete what you can't. Let him handle the rest. When you reach that sacred space where you no longer chase approval or control outcomes, you finally understand what it means to live by faith. You stop chasing and start trusting. You stop worrying about how things will turn out and begin resting in the truth that they already are. God doesn't need your panic. He desires your peace. He doesn't need your control. He seeks your surrender. He isn't impressed by how hard you push, but by how deeply you trust. Many people mistake movement for progress. They think constant motion equals growth. But sometimes running only takes you further from what's meant for you. Standing still in faith can move you farther than 1,000 frantic steps. Because while the world rushes ahead, God works in rhythm. His timing is deliberate. His order is flawless. And when your life aligns with his pace, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. So many hearts are weary because they've tried to live as if everything depends on them. But life was never meant to rest on your shoulders. You were created to rely, to lean, to trust. The same God who scattered the stars and told the sea where to stop has already written your story with perfect precision. The storms that once terrified you are the same storms he used to strengthen you. The pain that once broke you became the tool that built your resilience. You don't need to understand everything to trust that God understands it all. You don't need to see the full path to know he's leading you somewhere good. Every unanswered prayer, every delay, every season of silence carries purpose. Sometimes God withholds answers not to punish you but to prepare you. He delays not to deny you but to develop you. He pauses not because he's forgotten you, but because he's forming something greater in you. When you start to see life through that lens, panic gives way to peace. You stop measuring progress by what's visible, and start measuring it by how much you've surrendered. You begin to walk through chaos with calm, knowing who controls the outcome. You realize peace doesn't come from control, it comes from trust. And that's when life begins to feel lighter. When your soul finally rests in truth, there's a divine story written across eternity, one of perfect order, hidden miracles, and unseen movements of grace. Everything in creation moves by God's command. The winds listen. The stars shine on cue, the earth spins in harmony, and so will your life when you trust the one who holds it all together. Only humanity resists, believing we can improve our lives by forcing results. But true power isn't found in resistance, it's found in release. You discover real freedom the moment you stop trying to outthink God and start flowing with his divine rhythm. Isn't it true that once you stop striving, everything begins to fall into place? You stop chasing what's fading, and what's meant for you naturally finds its way to you. You stop mourning who walked away, and the right people start showing up effortlessly. You stop trying to control timing, and suddenly everything unfolds in perfect order. Because when your heart is aligned with God, you don't pursue blessings. They're drawn to the peace within you. Let that truth settle deeply in your spirit. You are not behind, not forgotten, not late. You are exactly where you need to be in this chapter of your journey. You may not grasp the why of this season now, but one day you'll look back and see that every delay was divine, every closed door was protection, and every pause was providence disguised as stillness. God isn't just working around you, He's working within you. He's shaping patience so you can sustain the blessings. He's refining your character so success won't crush you when it comes. He's deepening your faith, so when opportunity arrives, you'll walk in with humility, not pride. Everything God allows carries intention, even the waiting. And while you wait, simply exist. Don't rush the process. Don't force outcomes. Don't measure your path against anyone else's. Comparison steals peace because it blinds you to your own progress. God is crafting your story differently, not because He loves you less, but because your calling requires a unique kind of preparation. What you call delay, He calls design. What you call stuck, He calls rooted. You're being grounded for greatness. Sometimes God hides you to heal you. He separates you to strengthen you. He silences distractions so you can hear His whisper clearly. Isolation isn't punishment, it's protection. Because not everyone can walk with you into the place He's leading you. Not everyone is equipped to handle the weight of your purpose. So He keeps you apart, not to break you, but to build you in peace. There's rest in knowing you don't have to compete for what God has already reserved for you. What's meant for you will never miss you. No one can steal what God has written in your destiny. You don't need to fight for attention. You need to trust divine timing. You don't need to prove your worth. You need to remain faithful because when the moment is right, God Himself will deliver what's yours directly to your door. It's easy to forget that rest is also faith in action. When you rest, you're declaring, God, I trust that you are working even while I'm still. Rest isn't laziness. It's alignment. It's the heart saying, I don't have to carry this anymore because God already does. The world glorifies constant motion, but heaven rewards quiet trust. You don't have to do it all. You just have to let God do what only He can. Look at the rivers. They don't struggle to reach the ocean. They simply flow. They simply move along the path designed for them. And that's what true faith looks like. It's not about forcing the current, it's about following it. It's knowing that every twist and turn still leads you toward destiny. When you start flowing with God instead of resisting Him, fear begins to fade, and peace takes its place. Because even when the river curves, it never forgets where it's heading. Some of you are walking through a season of uncertainty right now. You don't know what's coming next, and that unknown feeling is overwhelming. But that's exactly where faith thrives, right in the middle of uncertainty. God doesn't require you to understand every detail. He asks you to trust the direction. If you could see every step ahead, you'd stop depending on Him. That's why He gives you just enough light for the next step, not the whole journey. He's teaching your spirit to lean on Him, not to predict outcomes. There's something sacred about saying, I don't know, but I trust. It holds peace, humility, and courage all at once. It tells the world that your anchor is deeper than your understanding. Because trusting God isn't blindness. It's confidence in His character. You might not know His full plan, but you know His nature. And His nature is steadfast. His nature is kind. His nature never fails. So, when a new day dawns, don't carry yesterday's burdens into it. Let them go. Every doubt that whispers you're not enough. Every fear that says it won't work. Every regret that insists you've missed your moment, release it all. You weren't designed to live in fear. You were created to walk by faith. Faith doesn't remove the storm. It teaches you to stand still within them, knowing that God commands the winds and the waves. There's a quiet power in those who walk closely with Him. They don't panic when seasons shift. They don't crumble when plans fall apart. They don't lose joy when people doubt them because their stability isn't rooted in outcomes. It's anchored in trust. And when trust is your foundation, no storm can shake you. Sometimes faith will call you to stand alone. Others may not understand why you've stopped striving, why you've chosen calm over chaos, or why you seem peaceful when everything looks uncertain. But that's because they can't see what you see. They don't know the still confidence that comes from knowing God is working behind the curtain. You're not being passive. You're being powerful in your stillness, because while others are chasing control, you're walking in surrender. And that's where divine favor flows freely. The truth is, surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It belongs to those who've learned that control is a weight the soul can't carry. When you release it, you're not losing strength. You're placing it in stronger hands. You're saying, God, I don't need to hold this anymore. You handle it better, and He always does. So keep living in peace. Keep breathing faith into every moment. Keep trusting even when the picture doesn't make sense, because God isn't a distant watcher. He's the invisible architect shaping every detail of your story. He's constructing something far greater than what you imagined. The pauses, the detours, the disappointments, they're all tools in His hands, sculpting your soul for the glory that's ahead. One day you'll look back and realize that every unanswered prayer was divine protection. Every closed door was hidden mercy. And every silent season was sacred preparation. You'll see that while you were simply existing, God was composing a masterpiece behind the scenes. And in that revelation, you'll finally understand why you had to wait, why you had to release, and why you had to trust without evidence. Because the beauty of faith isn't found in what you receive. It's found in who you become while you're waiting for God to move. So stay calm in heart and strong in spirit. Let the world race ahead, but let your soul rest. You don't need the map when you trust the one who designed it. Just exist. Let God complete what you can't. And in that stillness, you'll find everything striving could never deliver peace beyond logic, strength beyond measure, and blessings beyond expectation. When you've done all you can, when your energy is gone and your soul feels heavy, stand still and let God take control. There comes a moment when effort must yield to His eternal hand. You've carried burdens that were never yours to bear. You've fought storms that only God could calm. Now it's time to release, to lay down every fear, every wound, every anxious thought before the one who rules heaven and earth. Surrender doesn't strip you of power. It restores it, because true strength begins where human effort ends. So tonight, let your soul breathe again. Stop trying to repair everything. Stop trying to prove your value. You weren't created to perform. You were created to exist under the covering of divine care. When you simply exist in faith, you make space for His power to flow. You'll witness doors opening that you never touched, opportunities unfolding that you never orchestrated, peace resting upon you that no human hand could offer. God isn't asking you to do the impossible. He's asking you to trust Him with it. He's not calling you to see the entire journey, only to take one faithful step at a time. Some of you have spent years trying to make life make sense. worrying yourself weary over what's next. But hear this deep in your spirit. You are not forgotten, and you are not behind. God has not missed a single prayer, tear, or sleepless night. Every moment of endurance, every ache, every whisper of hope has been noticed. Nothing escapes his eye. When you felt lost, he was leading you. When you felt abandoned, he was preparing you. When you felt shattered, he was forming something stronger inside you. Don't let the weight of this world convince you that you failed. You were never meant to carry the world. You were called to walk with God. Existence itself is not weakness, it's trust. Every breath, every heartbeat, every sunrise is God's quiet reminder that he's still in control. So instead of rushing, rest in him. Instead of forcing flow with his timing, the same power that positions the stars is the power guiding your steps. If he can paint the heavens with light, he can rewrite your story with grace. And now, beloved, release your fear. Release your need to control how every detail will unfold, and trust that the unseen plan is already in motion. Let your faith rise higher than your fears and your peace outweigh your anxiety. Let your soul rest securely in the truth that God is working, even when you can't perceive it. You may not comprehend how he will bring it together, but you will witness the outcome. The hand of God often moves in silence, but it never moves without purpose. He is arranging people, refining moments, and creating divine connections on your behalf. All he asks is that you remain still enough to notice his movement when it happens. The time has come to live not by panic, but by peace, not by striving, but by surrender, not by fear, but by faith. You don't need to chase what God has already assigned to you. You don't need to fight for what's already destined to find you. All that's required is for you to stay faithful, patient, and rooted in his presence. The greatest triumphs are not born from noise, but from quiet confidence in the invisible power of God. So let your heart rise again. Let your spirit awaken with renewed strength. You are not walking this path alone. The same God who guided you through the storms of yesterday will carry you into the promise of tomorrow. Stop doubting your value and start recognizing his nearness. You are enough because he is more than enough. You are safe because he holds you steady. You are victorious because he never fails. Let this truth echo through every corner of your being. You were never designed to figure everything out. You were created to walk beside the one who already has. Just exist. Let God handle the rest. Trust him when the night feels endless. Believe him when the path seems empty. And thank him before the answer arrives. Because when your faith is anchored in God, your future is never uncertain. So rise from your doubt. Lift your eyes from despair. Stand tall beneath the light of his promises. Live this life not by worry, but by wonder. Not by fear, but by faith. The God who formed you has not finished with you. He is still working, still guiding, still writing chapters that will display his glory through your life. So breathe deeply, walk gently, and live boldly, knowing that everything you have surrendered will be touched by his timing. Exist in peace, exist in faith, exist in surrender, and watch how God transforms your stillness into strength, your silence into wisdom, and your waiting into victory. Just exist and let God do the rest. There are seasons in life when everything grows still, when the wind of progress seems to pause, when your prayers echo into silence, and you begin to wonder if God has forgotten your name. But hear me today. Stand your ground and lift your eyes, because the favor of God is gaining momentum in the unseen realm. It's rising like a powerful surge beneath the surface, and when it arrives, it won't come as a drizzle or a whisper. It will rush in like a tidal wave that overturns every obstacle, sweeps away every delay, and floods your life with divine breakthrough. God's favor is about to collide with your reality, and nothing on this earth can stop what He is preparing to release. People often think favor is soft, something that gently knocks at your door, but divine favor doesn't knock. It breaks through, it overtakes, it arrives suddenly. It shows up when others have written you off, and it lifts you when life tries to bury you. It changes the entire atmosphere of your existence until those who once pied you must witness your rising. When God's favor hits, it's not quiet, it's commanding. It speaks the language of miracles. It declares, "This one belongs to me." Some of you have endured barren years, silent seasons where nothing seemed to grow, where effort felt wasted and every door stayed shut. But those seasons were not punishment, they were preparation. God was laying the groundwork for something that would not only bless you, but redefine you. Every rejection, every delay, every lonely night was heaven clearing the path, so His wave of favor could move without resistance. You weren't being denied, you were being positioned. When a tsunami forms, it begins far out in the deep. You can't see it from the shore, the waters look calm, even lifeless. But beneath the ocean floor is shifting and strength is building. That's exactly what God is doing in your life right now. Behind the curtain, He's aligning people, moving resources, and arranging divine connection. You may not see it yet, but power is gathering. The silence isn't absence, it's construction. God is creating something vast and unstoppable. And when it reaches you, it will wash away every trace of struggle and establish you in victory. The truth is, favor doesn't visit the comfortable. It visits the faithful. It doesn't come to those chasing attention, but to those who trust God in the quiet. You've kept going when others quit. You've prayed without applause. You've planted seeds in barren soil. And God saw every act of faith, every tear, every moment you stood when you wanted to fall. Now He says, enough waiting. My favor is moving. Acceleration has begun. What took others years will take you months. What was shut will open suddenly. The favor of God doesn't just bless, it multiplies. It doesn't just restore, it overflows. It's not bound by human systems. It operates by divine order. And when it moves, it rewrites your story in a single sweep. Many of you have been asking, when will it happen? When will things finally turn around? But I tell you now, the turning has already begun. The tide beneath your feet has shifted. And even if you can't yet feel the full force, heaven's current has already changed direction. God has spoken the word and His favor is on its way to find you. But here's the reality. When a tsunami arrives, it doesn't just bless, it purifies. It clears out what can no longer remain. Certain people will drift out of your life, not because God is harsh, but because they can't follow you into your next chapter. When His favor comes, it separates. It draws a divine boundary between what once was and what's about to be. So don't grieve what exists. Thank God for what endures, because what remains after the wave is exactly what He will use to build your new beginning. Understand this. God's favor doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't need the approval of your critics, nor does it check your qualifications or resources. When heaven decides to favor you, no authority, no person, no force can stand in the way. His favor will lift you from hidden places into divine opportunities. It will take you from overlooked to appointed, from exhausted to unstoppable. You may not hold the credentials, but you carry the covering, and the covering is enough. There's a reason Scripture likens God's favor to a flood. Because a flood doesn't ask, it invades. It consumes everything in its path. And that's exactly what's coming to your life. Every area that has felt dry, your finances, your health, your relationships, your dreams, is about to overflow. God's favor will saturate every corner of your being until you no longer recognize the person who once struggled just to endure. You will walk in peace that confounds the anxious, abundance that silences the doubters, and strength that even surprises you. And remember this, the size of your battle is proof of the size of your coming favor. The deeper the valley, the greater the mountain of blessing ahead. Some of you have endured storms that should have broken you, but they didn't. You faced disappointments that would have crushed others, but you're still standing. Why? Because God's hand has been anchoring you, preparing you to withstand the wave when it arrives. He doesn't send favor to the fragile. He sends it to the faithful, those who have been refined by fire. There's a sound rising in the spirit now, the echo of chains snapping, of locked doors swinging open, of destiny calling your name. God is declaring, it's time. You've cried long enough. You've worried too much. You've carried burdens that were never meant for you. Now release them. The moment you let go of fear, you make space for favor. God cannot fill a heart still clinging to anxiety. Empty yourself of doubt, and watch how swiftly He floods you with blessing. When you reflect on your journey, you realize His favor has been pursuing you all along. Even in failure, there was mercy. Even in loss, there was protection. God never let you fall too far, because His plans were too vast to leave you down. The enemy thought he buried you, but God was planting you. The seed never resists the soil. It stays hidden until the appointed moment, and that moment has come. You are about to rise through the surface. What God is preparing will not be minor or ordinary. It will be seen, undeniable, and unstoppable. When His favor strikes, every rule changes. The same door that stayed shut for years will suddenly fly open. The same people who once overlooked you will begin to remember your name. And the very situation that once drained your strength will turn around to bless you. Because favor defies logic. It isn't natural. It's divine. It's God declaring, this is the moment I fulfill my promise. Understand this clearly. Favor isn't a trophy. It's a mission. God doesn't bless you merely for your comfort. He blesses you so you can carry His light. When His favor floods your life, it's not for you to rest in ease, but to rise in influence. You're not elevated just to be seen. You're elevated to lead. His favor will open doors to rooms where your voice can redirect destinies. It will position you where your character will spark transformation. So when the wave of favor arrives, don't just rejoice in it. Steward it, manage it with wisdom. Because divine favor carries divine responsibility. Soon many of you will witness what it means when God restores lost time. You'll accomplish in a single year what once took a decade. Doors will open so swiftly you'll barely have time to adjust. Opportunities will multiply faster than you can count. You'll ask, where was all this before? And God will softly reply, I was waiting until you were ready. His timing is flawless. It's never delayed. It's deliberate. He's been developing endurance through your patience, wisdom through your waiting, and humility through your hunger. Now that your foundation is steady, he can release the flood. Don't be alarmed when change comes suddenly. Sudden favor can feel intense. You'll see people fade away. Old patterns break. New beginnings stir. That's how you'll know it's genuine. The wave isn't meant to comfort you. It's meant to carry you into a higher dimension of purpose. Don't cling to the shore when God calls you into the deep. The deep is where miracles unfold, where faith becomes sight, where control ends and trust begins. And that's exactly where his favor is taking you. Not into ease, but into destiny. It's grander than your plans, higher than your imagination, and stronger than what you thought you could endure. But God wouldn't send it if you weren't prepared. You've been refined by fire, shaped by trials, and anchored by faith. You are ready. When his favor strikes, even your enemies will have to recognize it. They won't understand how you made it, but they'll see that a divine hand is upon you. They'll see you walking through storms untouched, rising from ashes with joy, standing in peace while others tremble. That's a favor. It's not loud, but it's undeniable. It's not boastful, yet it's visible. It's the kind of grace that speaks when your words run out. And don't think for a moment that you've been forgotten. God's memory is perfect. He hasn't missed a single prayer or overlooked a single act of faith. Every tear you've cried in secret was seen and stored. And now he's responding in a way that will bring clarity to every hardship. You're about to understand why you had to wait, why some people had to walk away, and why certain doors had to remain closed, because what's next is divinely timed, and it's finally here. Every piece is about to come together. Every unanswered question is on the verge of being revealed. Because when God's favor arrives, it brings understanding to everything. The wave that's approaching you isn't just about blessings. It's about complete restoration. What was stolen will be returned. What was shattered will be rebuilt, and what was delayed will be fast-tracked. You won't simply recover, you'll overflow. God never restores you to where you were. He restores you beyond it. He gives double for every loss, beauty for ashes, and strength for every season that drains you. The drought is over, the rain is coming, and when it falls, it won't sprinkle. It will pour without restraint. You've been steadfast in the small things. You've faced misunderstanding and mockery. You've kept your heart pure when bitterness tried to take root. And now God says, you've passed the test, prepare for the flood. You're not entering a season. You're entering saturation. Everywhere you turn, favor will meet you. Just as a tsunami covers the land, God's presence will engulf your life. You won't have to chase blessings. They'll pursue you. You won't need to push open doors. They'll unlock at your approach, because divine favor goes before you, follows behind you, and surrounds you like a shield. And when that level of favor manifests, fear has no place to linger. Fear will whisper, what if it fades? But true favor doesn't fade, it flows. It's not temporary. It's sustained by faith. As long as you remain anchored in trust, the current won't recede. It will continue to rise. God's favor isn't like the world's, which depends on talent or status. His favor rests on faith and obedience. Keep your heart aligned. and his current will carry you forward. Now envision this. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every lonely night, swallowed up by one unstoppable wave of divine favor. That's what's coming. Not small blessings scattered here and there, but a flood that redefines your entire existence. You won't just walk through open doors. You'll become the door through which others find light. You'll stand as living proof that God remembers, restores, and rewards those who remain faithful. Lift your eyes. The horizon is shifting. The wind is turning and the waters are rising. You might feel the pull, the pressure, the stretching, but that's the signal. That's how you know the wave is near. Stand firm in your trust. The same God who commanded light to pierce the darkness is about to speak abundance over your life. And when he speaks, the floodgates swing wide. Don't overthink how it will happen. Favor doesn't follow logic. It follows alignment. When your heart is surrendered, your motives pure, and your spirit steady, nothing can hinder the overflow. It's not your task to figure it out. It's your task to stay ready. God isn't asking for your plan. He's asking for your faith, because faith is what summons favor. Faith is what pulls the unseen into sight. And when it comes, you'll know. You'll feel it in the atmosphere around you. See it in how situations start shifting. Notice peace replacing pressure, and sense your spirit. Recognize the breakthrough before your eyes ever see it. That's the confirmation the wave has already begun to move. The time for fear has ended, and the season of doubt is gone. God's favor is not a possibility. It's a promise etched into your destiny. You've endured too much to miss this divine moment. The wave is already rising. The ground is stirring beneath you, and heaven is aligning on your behalf. Soon, everything that once opposed you will be placed beneath your feet. God isn't just about to change your circumstances. He's about to elevate your position. What once drained you will now drive you. What once crushed you will now crown you, because the favor that's coming is not subtle. It's a tsunami. Be ready. Stay faithful. Lift your heart in gratitude. When this wave strikes, it won't just transform your life. It will testify to the world that when God chooses to favor someone, no power in heaven or on earth can stand against it. When God moves, he moves with precision. Nothing he does is random, and nothing he allows is wasted. Every delay, every setback, every silent season you faced was not an accident. It was divine preparation. God wasn't withholding from you. He was aligning everything for the perfect release of his favor at the appointed time. Had he blessed you earlier, you might have settled for something smaller. But because you waited, because you believed when there was no proof, because you stayed grounded when everything was shaking, now his wave of favor won't just touch your life. It will display his glory through you. God's favor doesn't come to inflate pride. It comes to reveal his greatness. The wave about to crash into your life isn't just about elevation. It's about divine purpose. He's not blessing you so you can boast. He's blessing you so the world can witness what surrender produces. He's proving that those who walk quietly with him will one day rise loudly for him. Those who trusted him in the shadows will one day shine so brightly that even the doubters will have to recognize his hand. And make no mistake, when God's favor arrives, it doesn't whisper. It roars with authority. It overturns what man built and restores what was torn down. It redirects your path so suddenly that even you will marvel at how fast things shifted. That's the way God works. He humbles the proud, amazes the wise, and exalts the steadfast. There will be moments in your journey when it feels like everything has been stripped away, when all you see is loss, but that loss is never the conclusion. It's the clearing before construction. God removes before he rebuilds. He prunes before he prospers. He cuts away what cannot endure the weight of his next blessing. So if you've lost something precious, take courage. It's a sign that new life is forming. The same God who allowed the season of lack has already prepared the season of overflow. The same God who tested your faith is now prepared to reward it. The waiting was never punishment. It was protection. God has been ensuring that when his favor arrives, nothing and no one will be able to sabotage it. Listen closely. The sound of the wave is near. You can never outrun the favor of God. When he determines to bless you, he will find you. No matter where you are, even in the wilderness, he will locate you. Even when you think you've missed your moment, he will bring it full circle again, because his plans are not confined by time. They are eternal. You may believe you're behind, but in God's timing, you're exactly on track. Every setback, every closed door, every rejection was steering you toward this divine yes. When the wave of favor arrives, you'll realize the struggle was never wasted. The pain had purpose, the waiting built endurance, and the heartbreak cultivated humility, all working together to prepare you for the abundance that's now approaching. God's favor doesn't rest on the untested. It rests on those who've been refined. The fire you endured wasn't meant to destroy you. It was designed to strengthen you. It burned away dependence on others, fear of failure, and attachment to outcomes. It purified your faith until it became unshakable. And now that your faith is pure, the blessing can flow freely and without interruption. Some of you are standing in the stillness before the storm of favor. You can sense something shifting, though you can't yet see it. Don't mistake that calm for emptiness. It's divine alignment. God is arranging everything in perfect order. He's preparing conversations you haven't had yet, setting up opportunities that haven't surfaced, and aligning hearts that will open doors on your behalf. When his wave of favor breaks over your life, it won't be by luck. It will be divine orchestration. You'll know it's from God because it will fit together so perfectly. It defies explanation. You'll find yourself walking into places you never imagined, meeting people who were destined to help you, and receiving answers that match your prayers with uncanny precision. Then you'll see it clearly. It was never coincidence. It was divine design. The wave isn't coming to surprise you. It's coming to fulfill what God has already spoken. But remember this truth. Favor carries responsibility. It's not given to waste. It's entrusted to the steward. When God elevates you, lift others. When he blesses you, become a blessing. When he opens a door, hold it open for someone else. That's how you keep the flow alive. Favor that is shared multiplies. Favor that is hoarded withers. God's favor isn't meant to make you comfortable. It's meant to make you capable. Capable of serving, healing, giving, and transforming lives. You are not just the receiver of his favor. You are the vessel through which it flows. The world defines favor as luck or influence. But divine favor transcends human reasoning. It rests on those whose hearts are aligned with God's will. Those who pray in secret, forgive in pain, and remain kind when others turn cold. It flows to those who resist bitterness and keep walking in integrity even when unseen. When you live that way, you draw God's attention and create an atmosphere that welcomes the flood. And let me remind you, when God chooses to favor you, he doesn't need anyone's approval. You won't have to justify what he's doing. Some will question, others will criticize, but none will be able to deny it. God's favor speaks louder than accusation. It silences doubt and lifts you beyond the reach of envy. Those who once tried to stop you will soon witness your rising, not because you fought them, but because God's favor has made you untouchable. A moment is coming when you look back and say, "Now I see it clearly." Every sleepless night, every tear, every setback, it all had purpose. Because favor isn't just about receiving, it's about awakening. It opens your eyes to realize that even in the darkness, God was working behind the scenes, guiding you, refining you, and preparing you for this very season. Nothing was wasted. Nothing happened by accident. Every struggle, every detour, every closed door was leading you closer to this flood of divine grace. So get ready. Prepare your spirit, your thoughts, your surroundings. Clear out the clutter, both physical and emotional. The wave is approaching, and it's not coming to a heart filled with noise. It's coming to a heart that has surrendered. Let go of what you can't control. Release what no longer serves your peace. Forgive those who wounded you. Remove bitterness from your language, because God cannot pour favor into a vessel already filled with resentment. His blessing needs space to flow, and when it flows, it won't just elevate you, it will transform you from the inside out. You'll think differently, walk differently, speak differently. You'll stop chasing approval because you'll walk in divine confidence. You'll stop fearing loss because you'll live in overflow. You'll stop doubting your worth because you'll stand in authority. That's the power of favor. It changes your posture. It reminds you that your value was never determined by human approval, but by divine creation. The wave that's coming isn't a gentle ripple. It's a divine takeover. It will lift you from places you thought were permanent. It will shift your surroundings, expand your influence, and multiply your opportunities. God isn't sending tiny ripples. He's sending a flood, because what he's about to do through you won't be silent or hidden. It will be seen, it will be felt, and it will ignite faith in those who witness it. That's the purpose of this wave. It's not just to bless you, but to awaken faith in everyone watching your life. You might say, "I don't deserve this kind of favor." None of us do. And that's what makes it favor. It's not earned, it's given. It's not about perfection. It's about surrender. God isn't searching for flawless people. He's searching for willing ones. The moment you release control and say, "God, have your way," you give him permission to pour out his best. And when he does, you'll see he always had more planned than you imagined. This isn't the time to quit. It's the time to stand firm with expectation. You've prayed through the nights. You've sowed through your tears. You've endured storms and stayed faithful. And now the current is shifting in your favor. The wave has been building quietly, and soon it will break suddenly. That's how God moves. Silent in preparation, thunderous in revelation. You won't have to chase it. It will carry you. You won't have to force it. It will find you. Just remain positioned, humble, ready and expectant. And when it comes, receive it fully. Don't question it. Don't shrink back. Embrace it with gratitude and walk in it boldly, because this isn't just a temporary blessing. It's a divine transformation. God is rewriting your story, renewing your strength, and changing your entire atmosphere. He's overflowing your life with everything you prayed for, and even the blessings you never realized you needed. His favor isn't partial, it's complete. It doesn't just mend one area, it restores them all. So lift your expectations. Speak faith instead of fear. Walk with assurance instead of hesitation. Live as if the favor has already arrived, because in the unseen realm it already has. The waves are rising, the current is shifting, and soon the flood of God's favor will crash over your life so powerfully that you will never be the same again. There comes a point when words no longer suffice, and all that remains is the quiet certainty within your soul that God is near and that moment is now. You've heard his whisper, felt the stirring deep within, and something inside you knows without doubt that he has not forgotten you. His eyes have been upon you through every storm, every silent prayer, every hidden tear. He's seen you stand when surrender felt easier, witnessed the strength only faith could provide. And now he's whispering to your spirit, be still. The flood is on its way. My favor rests upon you. This is your shift. This is where fear ends and faith begins. No more questioning your worth. No more replaying your failures. No more living small. It's time to step into the deep waters of trust, where only God can sustain you, because the wave of his favor cannot reach a heart still tethered to fear. Release the shore. Let go of control. Lay down every plan, every burden, every anxious thought, and allow his will to carry you into something beyond imagination. God has been preparing you in the silence for this moment of surrender. Every time you thought nothing was moving, he was shaping you in the unseen, building a foundation that no storm could shake. Every trial carved humility into your heart. Every delay stretched your endurance. Every setback deepened your faith. And now that your heart has matured, his wave of favor can finally reach you. But he's not just coming to bless you. He's coming to transform you. He's calling you to think higher, live bolder, and walk with the awareness that his presence is your greatest strength. So make the decision right now in your spirit. No more living half awake. No more treating faith like a backup plan. God isn't inviting you into comfort. He's calling you into conviction. The world may chase noise, success, and applause, but you were created for peace, for purpose, for unshakable faith. You were designed to stand apart, to believe when others doubt, to trust when logic says no. That's how you attract his favor. Not through perfection, but through surrender. Not through striving, but through stillness. The moment has come to walk with God, not only in moments of desperation, but in every breath of your daily life. Let him direct your thoughts, influence your choices, and order your steps. When you rise in the morning, acknowledge his presence. When challenges arise, remember his promises. When uncertainty clouds your path, trust his guidance. The wave of favor isn't a single miracle. It's a lifestyle of faith, a continual current that flows wherever his will is honored. You might not see the full picture yet, but faith doesn't require sight. It requires surrender. Faith declares, even when I don't understand, I will still trust. Faith declares, even if the storm roars, I will remain standing. Faith whispers, even when I feel unworthy, I know God's plan still includes me. That kind of faith moves heaven itself. That kind of faith is what God honors and rewards. So now, as you stand on the edge of a new season, listen closely, the sound of the approaching wave, the rhythm of purpose, the roar of destiny, the unmistakable voice of God calling you to rise. Don't hesitate. Don't turn back. Step into the deep. Step into alignment. Step into the life that was written for you since the beginning. The waters may rise, but they will not consume you. The currents may pull, but they will not destroy you, because the very God who commands the waves is the same one who will carry you safely through them. Lift your eyes, open your heart, let faith reclaim its rightful place within you. God's favor is not just coming, it's already here, surrounding you, filling your atmosphere, and ready to elevate you higher than you've ever dreamed. Walk into it with courage. Receive it with humility. Live in it with thanksgiving. Let your life become living proof that when a soul trusts God completely, miracles become a natural outcome. And when you step away from this moment, carry that truth deep within your spirit. No matter what comes, no matter who doubts you, no matter how dark the night becomes, God's favor will find you. His strength will sustain you. His wisdom will lead you, and His love will never abandon you. Stand firm. Stay faithful. Keep your heart open, because the author of your story is still writing with power, with favor, and with a purpose greater than anything you've yet imagined. Let that truth sink into the deepest part of your being. Let it breathe hope into every weary corner of your heart. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, seen, and completely surrounded by the presence of the living God. So rise up, believe boldly, and walk confidently in the flood of His favor, because this is your moment, and the wave of God's glory has finally come for you. There are moments in life when God's silence feels overwhelming. When your prayers seem to drift unanswered into the heavens, when every door you've knocked on stays firmly shut, you've cried, you've hoped, you've believed, and still there's no visible change. But lean in closely, because right here in the stillness of this season, God is getting ready to astonish you with a massive breakthrough. What you call delay is actually divine setup. What feels like disappointment is the foundation for something greater than you imagined. God is not done with you yet. He's moving quietly behind the curtain, arranging every detail, shifting every circumstance, and positioning you for a miracle that will leave you speechless. There is power in waiting, even when waiting feels painful. Many of God's greatest victories were birthed in seasons of silence. You may not see it now, but the ground beneath your struggle is rich with divine purpose. You may think you're buried, but heaven says you're planted. You may think you're forgotten, but God whispers you're being hidden until the right moment. Every tear, every delay, every restless night has been seen by the one who never overlooks. You've been walking through a valley that looked like an ending, but it's actually the road to your greatest beginning. God is about to move, and when He does, it will be sudden, unstoppable, and undeniable. Too often people surrender just before heaven intervenes. They lose hope when the night feels longest. But remember, this midnight always comes before morning. The pain you feel is not proof of God's absence. It's evidence that victory is near. God never wastes pain. He never allows a storm without purpose. He never delays without meaning. Every mountain you faced, every storm you survived, every betrayal and loss, it's been shaping you, humbling you, refining you, and preparing you to carry the weight of the blessing that's about to come. You couldn't handle it before, but now you're stronger. You've grown. You've learned. Your faith has been forged in fire. God is about to honor your endurance. You might not see it yet, but sometimes God has to remove certain things before He can release what's truly meant for you. He takes away the imitation to make room for the genuine. He closes doors not to punish, but to protect. What fell apart was never meant to last. The ones who walked away were never meant to stay. God has been editing your story, pruning distractions, and clearing away what doesn't align with your destiny. It hurt, yes, but it was holy. Because when God is preparing an extraordinary victory, He removes anything that could steal His glory. You were never meant to stay in the wilderness. You were meant to cross over. The season of wandering is almost over. God is about to do something so extraordinary that it will make every tear worth it. Some of you have been walking through a long night praying, God, when will this end? You've done all you could. You've trusted even when you couldn't trace His plan. You've remained faithful when everything in you wanted to quit. And now God says, get ready. The tables are turning. The very place that saw your pain will witness your victory. The same people who doubted you will watch you rise. The heart that broke will sing again because I never end the story in defeat. He specializes in divine turnarounds in a single instant. He can turn bitterness into sweetness, loss into wisdom, and struggle into unstoppable strength. God's timing may not align with yours, but His plan is flawless. If God had given you what you wanted when you first prayed for it, it might have overwhelmed you. You weren't prepared, then the blessing you desired would have been too heavy to carry. But now, after every valley, every test, every painful lesson, your character has been refined and your spirit purified. You've learned to trust Him not only with your blessings, but with your waiting. You've learned to believe not only when doors swing open, but when they stay shut. That's real faith. And faith always draws victory. God doesn't honor comfort. He honors commitment. And you, my friend, are about to witness what that commitment produces. There are moments when God hides His hand to see if you'll still hold His heart. When nothing adds up, will you still trust Him? When your plans collapse, will you still say, God, I know you're good? Because faith that depends on outcomes isn't faith, it's negotiation. But faith that stands firm through the storm, that's the kind of faith God blesses. That's the faith that moves mountains. That's the faith that whispers, even when I can't see it, I know God is working. And when you carry that kind of faith, heaven takes notice. God starts shifting things, opening doors no one can shut, and fighting battles you didn't even know existed. Because He loves to reward those who trust Him in the dark. Right now, some of you are standing exactly where God is about to perform a miracle. You can't see it yet, but the atmosphere around you is alive with change. What looks like defeat is setting you up for victory. What seems like loss is divine alignment. The enemy thought he could destroy you, but all he did was push you closer to purpose. Every attack, every heartbreak, every delay was allowed only because it was part of God's design. You may feel weary, but don't stop now. The race isn't over. The final stretch is always the toughest because it's closest to breakthrough. You've come too far to quit. The victory is already written, and God is about to unveil it. Understand this about God. He never forgets the faithful. You might have been overlooked by people, but never by Him. While others ignored you, God watched you stay humble, patient, kind, and obedient. Because you remain steadfast in the small things, He is about to trust you with greater things. Your hidden season is ending. God is about to move you from the background to the forefront, from unnoticed to chosen, from waiting to walking in the promise. This is not coincidence. It's divine timing. The waiting was preparation, and now that preparation is colliding with purpose. Get ready. God is setting you up for a massive victory that will silence every doubt and every voice that ever questioned your calling. Sometimes victory doesn't arrive with thunder. It comes softly after countless nights of prayer and years of endurance. Yet when it comes, it transforms everything. God doesn't need the world's applause to elevate you. He doesn't need permission to bless you or validation to favor you. What He has ordained for your life cannot be canceled, delayed, or denied. His promise has your name written on it, and when the appointed time comes, nothing and no one can block it. God's unexpected victories appear suddenly. One call, one encounter, one open door, and your entire story shifts. You look back and see that every moment of waiting was divine preparation for that single breakthrough. Some people have counted you out, doubted your potential, and assumed your journey was over. But God is about to make you a living example of His power. He will prove that no one can stop what He has already approved. They'll have to witness your rise. They'll have to watch the same person they dismiss walk in divine favor, and you won't need to say a word because your success will testify for itself. That's the wonder of how God moves. He doesn't announce His plans. He fulfills them, and the world is left in awe. But understand this, before every major victory, there's always a test. Before every breakthrough, there's a battle. Before every promotion, there's pressure. And before every open door, there's often one that shuts. God allows resistance to strengthen your resilience. He allows challenges to build your faith. The pressure you feel isn't punishment. It's proof that you're close. Diamonds are created through intense pressure. And just like that, you're being refined for glory, shaped for greatness, and positioned for something so extraordinary that when it happens, you'll know only God could have done it. That's why you must never compare your journey to anyone else's. God's timeline for you is sacred and unique. What He's forming in your life cannot be hurried. Others may appear to move faster, but you're being built deeper. They might gather recognition. You're gathering strength, and when your moment arrives, your foundation will be unshakable. The higher God intends to lift you, the deeper He must first root you. Don't resent the depth. It's what sustains your height. Don't envy the quick value, the solid. God's blessings last because they're built through patience. Some of you say, but I've lost too much. I've made too many mistakes. Listen carefully. God can turn your losses into lessons, your failures into favor, your pain into divine purpose. Nothing is wasted in His plan. What appears as failure often becomes the groundwork for success. Those who hurt you didn't destroy you. They redirected you. The doors that closed didn't reject you. They protected you. The opportunities that slipped away weren't meant for you. They were beneath what God intends. He's preparing something that fits you perfectly. It won't demand chasing, pleading, or compromising. It will come with peace. And when it arrives, you'll know it's from Him. You may have felt forgotten, but God has not missed a single prayer. He remembers every moment you trusted Him in confusion, every sacrifice made in faith, every time you held on while others gave up. That kind of faith never goes unnoticed, and soon it will be rewarded. God gathers every tear and treasures every ounce of trust you've given Him. A divine reward is on its way for your faithfulness. A blessing is connected to your endurance. A victory is about to unfold simply because you refuse to give up. And when it happens, it won't be ordinary. It will be extraordinary. It will shake your spirit and leave no doubt that it wasn't luck, coincidence, or chance. It was God. So many believe victory is something they must chase. But true triumph comes when you align your life with His will. Stop forcing doors that God has already closed. Stop trying to repair what heaven has already released. Stop fighting battles that He's already conquered. Rest in His timing. Move in His peace and trust His process. When you rest in God, He begins to work on your behalf. And when He moves, He does it in ways that defy logic. He turns impossibility into reality. He breathes life into what seemed lifeless. He gathers your broken pieces and crafts them into something breathtaking. That's what he's orchestrating for you even now. The victory God is shaping for you won't just restore what was lost. It will multiply it beyond measure. He's not merely replacing what was taken. He's exceeding it. You will not only recover, you will rise higher. You'll emerge stronger, wiser, and more thankful than ever before. The pain that once confused you will make perfect sense in hindsight. You'll look back and thank God for the closed doors, the departures, and the endings, because without them, you wouldn't have reached the victory designed for you. God doesn't just return what you lost, He upgrades it. He transforms ashes into beauty, mourning into dancing, emptiness into overflow. Even now, though you may not see it, heaven is aligning circumstances in your favor. People you've never met are being positioned to bless you. Opportunities you never pursued are being prepared for your arrival. Resources, ideas, and divine connections are forming on the horizon that will carry you to places you never imagined. God is crafting it silently, intentionally, and perfectly. That's why it's taking time, because divine surprises are worth the wait. The greatest blessings from God don't come fast. They come at the right moment. And when that moment arrives, everything that once puzzled you will suddenly make sense. The next chapter of your life will not resemble the last one. You've shed enough tears. You've fought enough battles. You've carried enough burdens. Now God is about to rewrite your story. Just as night turns to morning, sorrow will turn into joy. You've been tested, but now you'll be trusted. You've been broken, but now you'll be rebuilt. You've been hidden, but now you'll be revealed. And when this victory arrives, it won't bless only you. It will bless everyone connected to you. Because when God elevates one person, He uses them as a vessel to ignite faith in others. Your life will stand as living evidence that God still performs miracles. But remember this, when victory comes, stay humble. Never forget the valley that built your strength. Never forget the nights when your only comfort was crying out to God. Never forget the days when all you had was trust. Because that humility is what keeps your blessings pure. God doesn't honor pride. He rewards gratitude. And if you remain thankful, He will keep overflowing your life with abundance. The same God who surprises you with victory will sustain you through success. The same power that lifted you up will continue to uphold you. That's the wonder of divine favor. It doesn't just bless, it strengthens, shapes, and establishes you. So lift your head high, square your shoulders, and wipe your tears. The waiting was not wasted, and the struggle was not meaningless. God has heard your prayers. He has seen your endurance. He has remembered your faithfulness. And He is preparing a victory so breathtaking that it will silence your critics, heal your pain, and restore your joy. Stay steadfast. Because when God declares that it's time, nothing on earth can prevent what He's about to unleash in your life. There comes a moment when God looks upon your perseverance and says, now it is time. The waiting may have felt endless, the journey exhausting, but when divine timing collides with your destiny, everything shifts. You won't need to strive anymore. You won't need to chase or force anything. What's meant for you will locate you. Doors that once resisted you will swing open with ease. People who once ignored you will be drawn to support you without even knowing why. The reason is simple. When God decrees victory, every opposing force must surrender. Every barrier, every delay, every burden loses its grip. What once tried to stop you becomes the very platform God uses to raise you. Too often we view life through the lens of lack, what we've lost, what hasn't worked, what we still don't have. But God sees through the lens of destiny. He doesn't focus on what you're missing. He's focused on what He's molding. While you're mourning what slipped away, He's preparing what's meant to stay. The delay isn't denial. It's divine direction. God knows exactly what you need and precisely when you're ready for it. He knows when your heart is steady, when your spirit is mature, and when your faith is strong enough to carry the blessing. That's why He sometimes whispers, "Wait," because if He gave it too soon, it would crush you instead of complete you. Don't despise the process. The process is the workshop of purpose. It's where God refines your character to match your calling. In the waiting, humility grows roots, wisdom blossoms, and discernment sharpens. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every not yet is part of a bigger design. You see fragments. God sees the masterpiece. What feels like silence is actually strategy. God's silence is never His absence. It's alignment. He's arranging people, positioning resources, and synchronizing timing so perfectly that when the breakthrough arrives, it will seem effortless. You'll stand in awe and declare, "Only God could have done this." And that's why the greatest blessings often follow the fiercest battles. When victory is near, pressure intensifies, confusion rises, and resistance grows stronger. Not because you're failing, but because the enemy knows your breakthrough is moments away. He can sense that God is about to shift your season and open the heavens wide in your favor. That's why He tries to drain your strength before you reach your breakthrough. But what He fails to understand is that your strength doesn't come from your surroundings. It flows directly from God. The more He presses, the more God empowers you. The more the world tries to silence your voice, the louder God makes your purpose echo. You are not battling to win. You are fighting from victory because God has already spoken it. And when God declares something, it cannot be reversed. His word never returns empty. What He has written over your life will stand unshaken through every storm, every trial, and every attack. It doesn't matter who doubts you. It doesn't matter who distances themselves. When God chooses to bless you, He doesn't ask for opinions. He doesn't consult your critics. He simply fulfills what He already decided. The world can't block it, and time can't erase it. God's hand is sovereign. His plan is unstoppable. And His surprise victories are always worth the waiting. Some of you are standing at the edge of what feels like an ending, but it's not the end. It's a transition. The shaking you're experiencing isn't destruction, it's construction. God is rearranging the pieces of your life. He's removing what no longer fits and aligning what's meant to stay. You may not enjoy the shaking, but it's proof that God is building something firm. The weak structures had to collapse so new stronger foundations could be laid. You might feel like your life is falling apart, but in truth it's being rebuilt stronger, wiser, and unmovable. The very thing that feels like loss is the doorway to increase. God never takes without intending to multiply. He never removes without replacing. Think about the moments you walked through darkness and still made it through. That alone proves God's hand has been covering you. There were seasons that should have broken you, yet you survived. There were nights you thought would never end, but morning still came. That wasn't luck. It was the quiet evidence of God's faithfulness. Even when you couldn't feel Him, even when you doubted, He was still working. Even when you were ready to quit, He carried you. You made it because God wasn't done writing your story. And now that same God who sustained you through the storm is preparing to reward you beyond measure. The victories God brings often come disguised. They rarely look like what we pictured. Sometimes they arrive through what we call loss, sometimes through what we label disappointment. But when you look back, you'll see those were the exact moments when God was doing his greatest work. You didn't lose, it was an exchange. You didn't fall, you were repositioned. You didn't fail, you were being refined. The path to victory seldom looks straight. It looks messy, confusing, and contradictory. But every twist has purpose. Every detour carries destiny. If you want to witness God's surprise victory, you must surrender control. Stop trying to force your own plans. Stop predicting how God should move. Faith isn't about knowing the next step. It's about trusting the one who does. You may not understand the journey, but trust the author who designed every step of it. The same God who painted the stars in the heavens and commanded the seas to flow has never been confused about your life. He knows exactly what he's doing. Every delay, every denial, every setback, it's all part of the divine orchestration of something far greater than you can imagine. The symphony of your destiny is being written in the silence. And when God lifts his hand, the melody of victory will resound. Many believe blessings come only when life is smooth. But the truth is, the most powerful blessings often emerge after the fiercest storms. Rain doesn't drown the seed, it activates it. Trials don't destroy faith, they prove it. Every hardship you've endured has been watering the soil for your next breakthrough. You've wept over what you lost, but God says, look again. The ground that once seemed barren is about to bloom. The same place where you cried will soon become the place where you celebrate. That's how God works. He transforms pain into promise and despair into destiny. There were things you couldn't understand before because you were still in the fight. But revelation comes after the storm. When God releases this victory, you'll see why every step mattered. You'll finally understand why certain doors shut, why some people walked away, and why some prayers went unanswered. What you once called rejection was actually redirection. What you saw as delay was divine protection. What you felt as failure was preparation for greater purpose. God is too wise to make an error, and too loving to let your pain go to waste. So lift your eyes, stop replaying what went wrong, and start anticipating what's about to go right. Expect God to move in ways that surpass logic. Expect calm where there was chaos. Expect overflow where there was lack. Expect laughter where there were tears. Expect the unexpected, because God's surprises are never small. They're designed to leave you in awe. When he moves, he doesn't do it halfway. He restores completely, blesses abundantly, and elevates fully. But to receive it, you must guard your heart. Don't allow bitterness to grow where faith should live. Don't let anger distract your focus. Don't let disappointment make you doubt his goodness. Waiting can tempt your heart to harden, but keep it tender. Keep it believing. Keep it humble. Because God responds to faith, not frustration. He rewards those who trust him, not those who quit when it's hard. Keep walking even when the path feels rough. Keep praying even when heaven seems silent. Keep giving even when you feel empty. God sees it all, and he never overlooks a faithful heart. There's a divine principle at work. Whatever you sow in faith, you will reap in victory. Every act of obedience, every word of kindness, every tearful prayer, it's all seed. And God never forgets a seed. He nourishes it with grace and multiplies it with favor. Then in his perfect time, it bursts forth, not in fragments but in abundance. Suddenly what you prayed for becomes reality. Suddenly what you only dreamed of stands before your eyes. Suddenly the ashes of your past start to shine with glory. And when that divine moment arrives, everything will pause to give glory to God. Because it won't be by your effort, your intellect, or your influence. It will be by the unseen hand that carried you, molded you, and poured favor over your life. It will be by a power that cannot be purchased, predicted, or replicated. The victory will belong to God alone. And when you witness it, you'll finally understand why it took so long, why it was so difficult, and why you had to endure so much pain. It was all preparation for the magnitude of what's coming. So don't be afraid. The greatest days of your life aren't behind you. They're ahead of you. You may be standing in uncertainty now, but that's simply the stage before revelation. The same God who parted seas, raised nations, and brought beauty out of chaos is about to move powerfully in your life. The impossible is effortless for him. The unseen is visible to him. The unknown is already clear in his sight. He is the master of timing, and he has chosen this moment for you. Keep your faith steady. Keep your hope alive. Because when you least expect it, God will surprise you with a massive victory that restores your joy, renews your strength, and reminds you that his power has no limit. You will rise again, not because of who you are, but because of who he is. God has written your story, and the ending has already been decreed. Victory. There comes a sacred moment in every life when God whispers, it's time. Time to stop running from who you were created to become. Time to stop doubting what I placed within you. Time to stop questioning whether your pain had purpose. God didn't bring you this far to abandon you in defeat. You're standing at the threshold of something holy, something extraordinary, something divine. But to step into it, you must release fear. You must let go of the need to understand and trust that the same God who walked with you through the fire will now lead you into triumph. This is not the hour to retreat. This is not the season to shrink. This is the moment to rise in faith and declare, God, I'm ready, ready to believe again, ready to dream again, ready to walk boldly on purpose. You've been tested, yes. But those tests became your training. You've been refined, yes, but that refinement made you unstoppable. What once broke you has now built you. What once scared you now fuels your fire. God has taken the shattered fragments of your story and turned them into the foundation of something greater. Do not resent the road that shaped you. It was the very path that aligned you with his will. Look around you. The world is full of people who settle for less than God intended. They let fear silence their faith. They let disappointment bury their destiny. But not you. You've seen too much of God's hand to doubt his power. You've felt his mercy when you least deserved it. You've been carried by his strength when yours was gone. So move forward with courage. Refuse to live chained to what was. Step boldly into what's next, because the God who began this story is about to finish it in glory. Lift your head and step boldly toward what's ahead, because when you walk in faith, you walk with God. And when you walk with God, you walk straight into victory. Let your heart return to reverence, your words overflow with gratitude, and your mind rests on truth. The greatest miracle isn't when God alters your circumstances, but when he transforms your heart. When you begin to see that every closed door is divine protection, every delay carries purpose, and every challenge shapes growth, everything changes. You stop chasing blessings and start attracting them. You stop begging for peace and begin living in it. Because true peace isn't the absence of storms. It's the awareness of God's presence within them. And now, as you step away from this moment and back into your life, hold on to this one truth. God has not forgotten you. He has not ignored your prayers. He has not overlooked your effort. The same hand that stretched out the heavens is holding your destiny. The same voice that commands the waves has spoken promises over your life. You may not see how it will happen, but it will. Because when God says yes, no power on earth can cancel it. So rise up, take your faith seriously, pray with passion, live with intention, believe like the victory has already begun. Release the bitterness. Let go of fear. Silence your doubt. Stand firm, stay grateful, and remain ready. God is not done with you yet. He's just beginning to reveal what he's been preparing all along. And when he moves, it won't just shift your circumstances, it will transform your soul. Let your heart bow before the greatness of God. Let your spirit be filled with awe at his glory. Even in silence, let your breath whisper gratitude for the path that led you here. You are not forgotten. You are not a mistake. You are chosen, refined, and prepared. The victory you're about to enter will prove that God never abandoned his promise. Walk with faith. Speak with conviction. Live with gratitude. And let your life become living proof that when you trust God completely, he turns every trial into triumph and every waiting season into a masterpiece of victory. There are moments when God's silence feels heavy, when prayers seem unanswered, and every door remains shut. You've cried, you've waited, you've believed, and yet nothing seems to move. But listen carefully right here. In this quiet season, God is preparing to astonish you with a massive breakthrough. What you call delay is divine setup. What you feel as disappointment is the foundation of something far greater than you imagine. God is not finished with you. He's working behind the scenes, aligning details, shifting circumstances, and setting the stage for a miracle that will leave you speechless. There is power in waiting, even when waiting feels painful. Some of God's greatest victories are born in seasons of silence. You may not see it, but the soil beneath your struggle is rich with purpose. You might think you're buried, but heaven says you're planted. You may feel forgotten, but God says you're simply being hidden until the perfect moment. Every tear, every setback, every restless night has been seen by the one who never overlooks a single detail. You've walked through valleys that looked like endings, but they were actually pathways to your greatest beginning. God is getting ready to move. And when he does, it will be swift, unstoppable, and undeniable. Too often people surrender just before heaven intervenes. They lose faith when the night is darkest. But remember this, midnight always comes right before morning. The pain you feel now is not evidence that God has forsaken you. It's proof that a breakthrough is near. God never wastes a tear, never allows a battle without purpose, and never delays without intention. Every mountain you climbed, every storm that tested you, every betrayal and loss, they were shaping you, humbling you, refining you, preparing you to carry the blessing that's about to arrive. You couldn't have handled it before. You weren't ready, but now you've endured. You've matured, you've learned, and your faith has been refined in fire. God is about to reward your endurance. You may not realize it, but sometimes God must remove certain things before releasing something greater. He takes away the imitation to make room for the genuine. He closes doors not to punish, but to protect. What fell apart was never meant to remain. Those who left were never meant to continue. God has been editing your life, clearing out distractions, trimming away what no longer serves your destiny. It hurt, yes, but it was sacred. Because when God prepares a massive victory, he removes everything that might steal his glory. You were never meant to remain in the wilderness. You were created to cross over. The season of wandering is nearing its end. God is about to do something so extraordinary that it will make every wound worthwhile. Some of you have been walking through a long night crying, God, when will this end? You've done everything you could. You've trusted even when his plan seemed hidden. You've stayed faithful when quitting felt easier. And now God says, get ready. The tables are turning. The place that witnessed your tears will soon witness your triumph. The same voices that doubted you will watch you rise. The same heart that broke will rejoice again. Because I never end a story in defeat. God specializes in divine reversals. In one instant, he can turn bitterness into sweetness, loss into wisdom, and struggle into strength. His timing may not align with yours, but his plan is flawless. If God had given you what you wanted when you first asked, it might have overwhelmed you. You weren't prepared then. The blessing would have crushed you under its weight. But now, after every valley and every storm, your character has been shaped, your spirit purified. You've learned to trust him not only with the blessing, but with the waiting. You've learned to believe not just when doors open, but even when they stay closed. That's faith. And true faith always attracts victory. God doesn't bless those who stay comfortable. He rewards those who stay committed. And you, my friend, are about to witness what your steadfastness has been producing all along. There are seasons when God hides his hand just to see if you'll still hold his heart. When everything feels uncertain, will you still trust him? When your plans collapse, will you still whisper, God, I know you're good? Because faith that depends on results isn't faith, it's negotiation. But faith that stands unshaken in the storm, that's the faith God blesses. That's the faith that moves mountains. That's the faith that says, even if I can't see it, I know God is working behind the scenes. And when you walk in that kind of faith, heaven notices. God begins shifting the atmosphere. He opens doors no one can shut. He fights battles you didn't even realize existed. Because God takes pleasure in honoring those who trust him in the dark. Right now, some of you are standing in the very place where God is preparing to perform a miracle. You can't see it yet, but the air around you is charged with change. What looks like defeat is a divine setup. What looks like loss is holy redirection. The enemy thought he could break you, but he only pushed you closer to your purpose. Every trial you faced was allowed because it served God's greater plan. Every heartbreak has brought you nearer to the place where blessing awaits. You might feel weary, but don't stop now. The race isn't finished. The final stretch is always the toughest because it's closest to the breakthrough. You've come too far to quit. The victory is already written, and God is about to unveil it. Understand this. God never forgets the faithful. You may have been overlooked by people, but you were never overlooked by him. While others dismissed you, God was watching you stay humble, patient, kind, and obedient. Because you were faithful in the small things, he's about to trust you with much greater things. Your hidden season is ending. God is moving you from the background to the spotlight, from overlooked to chosen, from waiting to walking in the promise. This isn't coincidence, it's divine timing. The waiting was preparation, and now preparation is meeting purpose. Get ready. God is about to surprise you with a victory so massive it will silence every doubt. Sometimes breakthroughs don't come with thunder. They arrive quietly after years of endurance and nights of prayer. But when they come, they change everything. God doesn't need applause to promote you. He doesn't need permission to bless you. He doesn't need anyone's approval to favor you. What he has ordained for you cannot be canceled, delayed, or denied. His blessing bears your name. And when the appointed time comes, nothing can stop it. God's surprise victories happen suddenly. One call, one meeting, one open door, and everything shifts. You'll look back and realize He'd been preparing you all along for that single defining moment. There are people who counted you out, who assumed you were done, who doubted your comeback. But God is about to use you as a living demonstration of His power. He will prove that no one can block what He has decreed. They will have to watch your elevation. They will have to see the same person they overlooked rise, crowned with divine favor. And you won't have to utter a single word, because your victory will speak louder than anything you could say. That's the wonder of how God operates. He doesn't need to announce what He's doing. He simply performs it, and the world can't help but notice. But hear this truth: before every great victory there is always a test. Before every breakthrough there's a battle. Before every promotion there's pressure. And before every open door there's one that closes. God allows resistance because it develops your resilience. He allows the struggle because it strengthens your spirit. Weight you feel right now isn't punishment. It's confirmation that you're near the promise. Diamonds are created under immense pressure, and so are destinies. When life feels heavy, remember you're being refined for glory, molded for greatness, positioned for something so extraordinary that when it finally manifests, you'll know it could only have been God. That's why you must never compare your path to anyone else's. God's timeline for you is sacred and specific. What He's crafting in your life cannot be rushed. Others might seem to move quickly, but you're being built deeply. They may be collecting applause, but you're collecting strength. And when your time comes, your foundation will be unshakable. The higher God intends to raise you, the deeper He must first anchor your roots. Don't despise the depth. It's what sustains the height. Don't envy the speed value, the stability. God's blessings that come through patience are the ones that last. Some of you are saying, but I've lost too much. I've made too many mistakes. Listen, God can turn every loss into a lesson, every failure into favor, and every pain into purpose. Nothing is wasted in His design. What looks like failure is often the foundation of success. The people who wounded you didn't destroy you. They redirected you. The doors that slammed shut didn't reject you. They protected you. The opportunities that slipped away weren't meant for you. They were beneath you. God is crafting something that fits you perfectly. It won't require chasing, begging, or compromising. It will come with peace. And when it arrives, you will know it's from Him. You may have felt forgotten, but God has not missed a single prayer you've whispered. He remembers every tear, every moment you trusted Him when nothing made sense. Every act of faith when giving up felt easier. None of it has gone unnoticed. God treasures every tear and honors every ounce of trust. There's a divine reward coming for your faithfulness, a blessing tied to your endurance, a victory unfolding because you refuse to quit. And when it happens, it won't be small. It will be monumental. It will shake you to your core and leave you in awe, because it won't be luck or coincidence. It will be the unmistakable hand of God. Many think victory is something they must chase. But true victory is what God delivers when your heart aligns with His will. So stop trying to pry open doors He has already closed. Stop trying to repair what heaven has already released. Stop fighting battles that have already been won. Rest in His timing, because what's coming is worth every moment you waited. Walk in His peace and trust His process. Because when you rest in God, He begins to work on your behalf. And when He moves in ways that surpass logic. He makes the impossible possible. He revives what seemed lifeless. He gathers your broken fragments and crafts them into something breathtakingly beautiful. That's what he's orchestrating for you right now. The victory God is preparing won't just restore what was lost, it will multiply it. He's not merely replacing what was taken, he's exceeding it. You will not only recover, you'll rise higher. You'll emerge stronger, wiser, and more thankful than ever before. The pain that once confused you will make perfect sense in hindsight. You'll look back and thank God for the closed doors, the people who left, and the endings that forced new beginnings. Because without those losses, you never would have stepped into the victory designed for you. God doesn't just return what you lost, He transforms it. He turns ashes into beauty, sorrow into joy, and emptiness into abundance. Even now, though you can't see it, heaven is aligning everything in your favor. People you've never met are being positioned to bless you. Opportunities you never applied for are being arranged on your behalf. Resources, ideas, and divine connections are forming that will carry you to places beyond imagination. God is preparing it quietly, intentionally, and perfectly. That's why it's taking time, because divine surprises are always worth the wait. The greatest gifts God gives never come rushed. They come right on time. And when that moment arrives, every unanswered question will suddenly make sense. The next season of your life will not resemble the last one. You've cried enough tears, fought enough battles, and carried enough weight. God is about to rewrite your story. Just as night gives way to morning, sorrow will turn into laughter. You've been tested, but now you'll be trusted. You've been broken, but now you'll be rebuilt. You've been hidden, but now you'll be revealed. And when this victory manifests, it won't bless only you. It will bless everyone connected to you. Because when God elevates one, He uses them as a vessel of inspiration for others. Your story will stand as living evidence that God still performs miracles. But remember this, when victory comes, stay humble. Don't forget the valley that deepened your faith. Don't forget the nights you cried for mercy. Don't forget the days when trust was all you had. Because that humility keeps the blessing pure. God doesn't bless the prideful, He blesses the grateful. And if you remain thankful, He will continue pouring into your life. The same God who surprised you with victory will sustain you in success. The same power that lifted you will preserve you. That's the beauty of divine favor. It doesn't just bless, it strengthens and establishes. So lift your head, square your shoulders, and wipe your tears. The waiting was not wasted. The struggle was not in vain. God has heard you. He has seen you. He has remembered you. And He is preparing a victory so extraordinary that it will silence your enemies, heal your wounds, and restore your joy completely. Stay faithful. Keep praying. Keep believing. Because when God says it's time, nothing and no one can stop what He's about to release in your life. There comes a moment when God looks upon your endurance and declares, now is the time. The waiting may have felt endless. The path may have been difficult. But when divine timing collides with destiny, everything shifts. You won't have to struggle anymore. You won't need to force open doors. They will swing wide effortlessly. What belongs to you will find you. People who once overlooked you will suddenly be moved to help you without even knowing why. The reason is simple. When God declares victory, every opposing force must bow. Every obstacle, every delay, every weight loses its grip. What once resisted you becomes the very platform God uses to elevate you. Too often we view life through the lens of lack. What we've lost, what didn't happen, what hasn't worked out. But God sees through the lens of destiny. He doesn't focus on what you're missing. He focuses on what He's preparing. While you mourn what slipped through your hands, He's crafting something your hands were never meant to hold. The delay isn't denial, it's divine direction. God knows exactly what you need, and when you're ready to receive it. He knows when your heart is healed, your spirit steady, and your faith strong enough to carry what's coming. That's why sometimes He simply says, wait, because if He gave it too early, it would crush you instead of shape you. Don't despise the process. The process is where God molds your spirit for the promise. It's in the waiting that humility grows, wisdom matures, and discernment sharpens. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every not yet is part of a divine masterpiece. You see fragments, but God sees the full picture. What feels like silence is actually strategy. God's silence is never His absence. It's alignment. He's arranging people, resources, and timing in such a flawless way that when the victory arrives, you'll stand in awe and say, only God could have done this. There's a reason the greatest blessings often follow the toughest battles. When victory is near, the pressure intensifies, confusion deepens, and resistance multiplies. That's not defeat. It's confirmation that you're close. The enemy senses that God is about to shift your season, to open the heavens over your life. So he tries to drain your energy before you reach a breakthrough. But what he doesn't understand is that your strength doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from God. The more he pushes, the stronger God makes you. The more the world tries to silence you, the louder heaven amplifies your purpose. You are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory because God has already declared it. And when God speaks, his word cannot be reversed. What he has written over your life will stand through every storm, every trial, every attack. It doesn't matter who doubts you or who walks away. When God chooses to bless you, he doesn't call for approval or consult your critics. He simply fulfills what he already decided. The world can't block it. Time can't erase it. God's hand is sovereign, his will unstoppable, and his surprise victories are always worth the wait. Some of you are standing at the edge of what feels like an ending, but it's not the end, it's a transition. The shaking you feel isn't destruction, it's divine construction. God is reorganizing your life, removing what no longer belongs and positioning what's meant to stay. You may not enjoy the shaking, but it's evidence that God is establishing something unshakable. The weak structures had to collapse so that new, stronger foundations could be built. You might feel like your life is being torn apart, but in reality, it's being rebuilt, stronger, wiser, and more secure than ever before. The very thing that feels like loss is actually the doorway to increase. God never takes without intending to replace, and he never removes without a plan to multiply. Think back to the dark seasons you've endured, and yet you're still standing. That alone proves his hand has never left you. There were moments that should have broken you, but somehow you survived. There were nights you thought you'd never see the light, but morning came. That wasn't luck. It was quiet evidence of God's faithfulness. Even when you couldn't feel him, he was leading you. Even when you doubted, he was working. Even when you were ready to give up, he carried you through. You survived because God isn't finished with your story. And now the same God who sustained you is getting ready to reward you. The victories he gives often come wrapped in disguise. They rarely look like what you expected. Sometimes they arrive through loss. Sometimes they emerge through disappointment. But when you look back, you'll realize those were the moments when God was doing his finest work. You didn't lose. It was exchanged. You didn't fall. You were repositioned. You didn't fail. You were being refined. The road to victory is rarely straight. It winds through chaos, confusion, and contradiction. Yet every twist holds purpose, and every detour carries destiny. If you want to experience God's sudden victory, you must release control. Stop trying to manipulate the plan. Stop predicting how God will move. Faith isn't knowing what's next. It's trusting the one who holds what's next. You may not understand the process, but trust the architect who designed it. The same God who painted the stars and commanded the seas is not uncertain about your life. He knows exactly what he's doing. Every delay, every denial, every setback is part of a greater orchestration. The symphony of your destiny is being composed in silence. And when God lifts his hand, the melody of victory will fill the air. Many believe blessings only arrive in ease. But the truth is, the most powerful blessings are born after storms. Rain doesn't drown the seed, it activates it. Hardship doesn't destroy faith, it refines it. Every trial you've endured has been watering the soil for your next breakthrough. You've been mourning what you lost. But God says, look again. The ground that once seemed barren is about to bloom. The same place where you wept will soon be the place where you rejoice. That's how God operates. He turns pain into promise and despair into destiny. There were things you couldn't understand before because you were still in the battle. But clarity always comes after the storm. And when God delivers this victory, you'll see that every delay, every detour, and every dark night was necessary to prepare you for the greatness ahead. You'll soon understand why certain doors had to close, why some people had to walk away, and why specific prayers weren't answered the way you expected. Because now you'll see that what once felt like rejection was actually divine redirection. What seemed like a delay was protection. And what looked like failure was preparation. God is far too wise to make a mistake, and far too loving to waste your pain. So lift your eyes, stop focusing on what fell apart, and start expecting what's about to come together. Expect God to show up in ways that surpass understanding. Expect peace to replace chaos. Expect overflow where there was lack. Expect laughter to rise where tears once fell. Expect the unexpected because God's surprises are never small. They're designed to leave you speechless when He moves. He doesn't do it halfway. He restores completely. He blesses beyond measure. He elevates entirely. But to receive it, you must guard your heart. Don't let bitterness grow where faith should dwell. Don't let anger cloud your focus. Don't let disappointment make you question God's goodness. Waiting can tempt your heart to harden, but keep it tender. Keep it believing. Keep it humble. Because God responds to faith, not frustration. He rewards those who trust Him, not those who quit when it gets hard. Keep walking even when the path is rough. Keep praying even when heaven feels silent. Keep giving even when your cup feels empty. God sees every act of faith, and He never overlooks a faithful heart. There's a spiritual principle at work. Whatever you sow in faith, you will reap in victory. Every act of obedience, every word of kindness, every tearful prayer, it's all seed. And God never forgets a seed. He nourishes it with grace and multiplies it with favor. Then at the appointed time, it bursts forth, not one blessing at a time, but in overflowing abundance. Suddenly, what you've been waiting for becomes your reality. Suddenly, what you've dreamed about stands before your eyes. Suddenly, The life that once felt like ashes radiates with glory. And when that moment comes, everything will pause to give glory to God. Because it won't be by your strength, your plan, or your connections. It will be by the unseen hand that carried you, molded you, and covered you. It will be by a power that can't be purchased, predicted, or duplicated. The victory will belong to God alone. And when you witness it, you'll finally understand why it took so long, why it was so painful, and why the journey required so much endurance. It was all necessary to prepare you for the magnitude of what's coming. So don't be afraid. Your best days are not behind you. They're still ahead. You may be standing in uncertainty right now, but that's only the stage before revelation. The same God who split the seas, who raised nations, who brought beauty out of chaos, is about to do the same in your life. The impossible is easy for him. The unseen is visible to him. The unknown is clear in his sight. He is the master of moments. And this one right now has your name on it. Keep your faith firm and your hope alive, because just when you least expect it, God will surprise you with an overwhelming victory that will restore your joy, renew your strength, and remind you that his power has no boundaries. You will rise again, not because of who you are, but because of who he is. God has authored your story, and the ending has already been written, and that ending is victory. There comes a sacred moment in every life when God whispers to the heart, it's time. Time to stop running from who you were created to become. Time to stop doubting what I placed inside you. Time to stop questioning whether your pain had purpose. God didn't bring you this far to abandon you in defeat. You're standing on the edge of something holy, something powerful, something divine. But to step into it, you must release fear. Let go of the need to understand it all, and trust that the same God who brought you through the fire will now lead you into triumph. This is not the hour to retreat. This is not the season to hide. This is your moment to rise in faith and declare, God, I'm ready, ready to believe again, ready to dream again, ready to walk with conviction and courage. You have been tested. Yes, but those tests were training. You have been refined. Yes, but that refinement made you unstoppable. What once shattered you has now shaped you. What once terrified you now empowers you. God has taken the broken fragments of your story and transformed them into a foundation for something extraordinary. Don't resent the journey that molded you. It was the very road that aligned you with his will. Look around. The world is filled with people who have settled for less than what God destined for them. They let fear mute their faith. They let disappointment bury their dreams. But not you. You've witnessed too much of God's hand to doubt his power. Now you've experienced his mercy when you least deserved it. You've been carried by his strength when yours was gone. So move forward with courage. Refuse to live imprisoned by your past. Lift your head high and step boldly toward what's ahead. Because when you walk in faith, you walk with God. And when you walk with God, you walk straight into victory. Let your heart return to reverence. Let your words overflow with gratitude, and let your thoughts dwell on truth. The greatest miracle isn't when God changes your situation. It's when he transforms your heart. When you begin to understand that every closed door was protection, every delay was divine timing, and every trial was a setup for growth, your entire life shifts. You stop chasing blessings and start attracting them. You stop begging for peace and start living in it, because peace isn't found in the absence of storms, but in the awareness of God's presence within them. And now as you step away from this moment and back into your life, hold on to this truth. God has not forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned your prayers. He hasn't overlooked your faithfulness. The same hand that stretched out the heavens is holding your destiny. The same voice that calmed the seas has spoken promises over your life. You may not see how it will unfold, but it will. Because what God begins, He always completes. Because when God says yes, no force on earth can say no. So rise up and take your faith seriously. Pray with passion, live with purpose, and believe as if the victory has already begun to unfold. Release the bitterness, release the fear, release the doubt, stand firm, stay grateful, and remain ready. God is not done with you yet. He's only beginning to unveil what He has been preparing all along. And when He moves, it won't merely shift your situation. It will transform your soul from within. Let your heart bow in reverence to the greatness of God. Tonight, let your spirit be overwhelmed by the wonder of His power. Even in silence, let your breath whisper gratitude for the journey that led you here. You are not forgotten. You are not a mistake. You are chosen, refined, and divinely prepared. The victory you are about to step into will serve as living proof that God never abandons His promises. Speak with intention, live in gratitude, and let your very life become the undeniable evidence that when you trust God fully, He turns every battle into a breakthrough and every season of waiting into a masterpiece of triumph.